Hello, BookTube. I have a mail haul here of modest dimensions for a Monday. I thought we'd go through it together. I have looks like 5 packages here. So let's see what kind of stuff we have. Starting with this first one here. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Okay, so this comes out later in the month. This is the finished copy of What Are We Doing Here? Essays by the great Marilyn Roberts. I say great, even though she and I don't always agree, but she's clearly a towering literary figure of our time. So, and this is a collection of essays. I often find that I like her essays more than her fiction, which is saying something, because I like her fiction quite a bit. But great. Fantastic. I had the advanced copy of this, and I read it, and I greatly look forward to the opportunity, the prod, to read it again. Just slower, taking notes as I go along, that sort of thing. So what is this next one? Okay. This comes out in May. It's from Pegasus Books. I don't think I requested it. It's called Comparing Notes, How We Make Sense of Music by Adam Ockelford. And let's see here. A tap of the foot, a rush of emotion, the urge to hum a tune. Without instruction or training, we all respond intuitively to music. Comparing Notes explores what music is, why all of us are musical, and how abstract patterns of sound that might not appear to mean anything can, in fact, be so meaningful. Huh. Okay, and who is Adam Ockelford when he's at home? He's a professor of music, well, he bloody well better be, right? At Roehampton University, where he directs the Applied Music Research Center. And he's the author of In the Key of Genius, a biography of the musical savant Derek Paravicini. And he's a regular on British radio and television. And I don't know if I would know him if I saw him or heard him. I will, if he's a regular on British television, then he'll have a presence on YouTube. So I will find him and see what he has to say. Wonderful. Okay, a study of what is and is not music. That's fascinating. And the cover copy is entirely right. It's completely universal. Let's see what the next one is here. Okay, didn't request this either. What is this? This is a paperback that no pub sheet, no nothing at all. This is Carter Wilson, and it's Mr. Tender's Girl. How far are you willing to go for Mr. Tender? At 14, Alice Hill was viciously attacked by 2 of her classmates and left to die. The teens claim she was a sacrifice for a man called Mr. Tender. But that could never be true. Mr. Tender doesn't exist. His sinister character is pop culture fiction, created by Alice's own father in a series of popular graphic novels. Over a decade later, Alice has changed her name and is trying to heal, but someone is watching her. They know more about Alice than any stranger could, her scars, her fears, and the secrets she kept locked away. She can try to escape her past, but Mr. Tender is never far behind. Oh, so is that because they'd get jumped on by an army of lawyers if they use Slender Man? Interesting. Okay, so why is this a paperback, is the question here. Is it a reprint? No, it's not. Okay, so this was written in 2018. All right. That sounds kind of interesting. Let's see here. Let's see what the next one is. But it has girl in the title, so that kind of puts the kibosh on things. Let's see what this next one is. Okay, this comes out in May as well. It's from One World Press. They're wonderful. And it's called The Baghdad Clock by Shahad al-Rawi. Pretty thing, isn't it? The lighting's not really good here. I've noticed that the camera on this computer, amazingly, I'm not complaining about it because it's a miracle on its own, but it really does dramatically improve the more light it has. It's not really capable of handling dim light. So what have we got here? So Shahad al-Rawi was born in Baghdad in 1986. She's a writer and novelist, and this is her first novel. It went through 3 printings in the first month of its publication. She's currently completing a PhD in anthropology in Dubai. Okay, great. So this is her debut novel. Baghdad, 1991. That is our scene. In the midst of the first Gulf War, a young Iraqi girl huddles with her neighbors in an air raid shelter. There she meets Nadia. The 2 girls quickly become best friends, and together they imagine a world that is not torn apart by civil war, sharing their dreams, hopes, and first loves. But as they grow older and the bombs continue to fall amidst the bite of international sanctions, friends begin to flee the country, and the girls must face the fact that their lives will never be the same. So this is a debut novel set in the beginning, anyway, in the first Gulf War. Wow, okay. And is this, what is this going to be? This comes out in early May in hardcover, pretty hardcover. Okay, great. Interesting. All right. Wait. Preponderance of things that I did not request. That's always fascinating for me. All right, so this is the last one. Let's see what we have here. It is the last one. Yes, yes, it is. Okay. Oh, okay, great. All right. Okay, this one I did request. So this comes out also in May. My May shelf is going to get bigger and bigger. And this is by Stacey Horn. It's called Damnation Island. The subtitle is Poor, Sick, Mad, and Criminal in 19th Century New York. And I think, if I remember correctly, it is just a study of what it was like to be any of those things, prior to the social reforms of the 20th century. The Roosevelt Island of today is an odd stretch of land resting in New York's East River. At 2 miles long and 800 feet across at its widest point, it's a place you might go for a quiet residential escape from nearby Queens or Manhattan. That's absolutely true, and I have done that. But in the 19th century, it was a place to which you were sentenced. A place for criminal, insane, and the deathly ill. Then called Blackwell's Island, it housed a lunatic asylum, 2 prisons, a poorhouse, and a number of public hospitals. It was conceived as the modern, humane facility the world had, as the most modern, humane facility the world had ever seen, but quickly became, in the words of the visiting Charles Dickens, a lounging, listless madhouse in all its naked ugliness and horror. Imagine, in a world effectively before any kind of real medicine, being sent to a hospital for the dying on Roosevelt Island. Imagine it. You can't even get home on your own power, and you're not going to get better. And that's to say nothing of the horrors of everybody else that was sent there. So let's see here. In this book, author Stacey Horn, whom Mary Roach has praised as combining awe-fueled curiosity with top-flight reporting skills, delivers the first contemporary investigative account of Blackwell's Island. Horn tells this chilling narrative through the gripping voices of the island's 19th century inhabitants, as well as the period's officials, reformers, and journalists, including Nellie Bly, I knew her name was going to come up, whose horrifying experiences going undercover in the island's asylum in 1887 was chronicled in her wildly popular book, 10 Days in a Madhouse. Digging up long-buried research from city records, newspaper articles, and archival reports, the author describes the appalling conditions at Blackwell's. In addition to overcrowding, punishment was harsh and unfair, treatment was practically non-existent, disease was rampant, and prisoners were enlisted to care for the mentally ill. Incompetent management and dirty politics contributed to the nightmare. Throughout the book, Horn returns to the extraordinary Blackwell's missionary, Reverend French, as he ministers to the island's sorry souls, battles the bureaucratic mazes of the Department of Charities and Correction and a corrupt city hall, testifies at salacious trials, and wonders about man's inhumanity to man. And, of course, he did that for the money. No? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, Reverend French did that because his Christianity told him to. Could have done almost anything else. Could have certainly done anything better. Instead, he went to hell on earth. Because his Christianity told him to. But does Reverend French make an appearance in Christopher Hitchens' book, God is Not Great? No. No. Do the legions, the hundreds of thousands, the million Christians just like him make an appearance in any book like that? No. 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 Were they motivated by anything other than Christianity? No. No, they were not. So is the tiny flicker of mercy or compassion that they brought into the darkest places in the world, in America and everywhere else, the product of Christianity? Why, yes, it is. Which is part of the reason why I used to get very upset when Christopher Hitchens would do the debate route and say Christianity poisons everything. But we're not going to go down that path in this video. So there we have it. So Damnation Island, about Blackwell's Island. Oh, God. It's hard to even think about. And another thing, this fiction is also hard to think about. The Baghdad Clock. The setting, the premise, all of it strikes me as just wonderful. Everything will now rely on the execution. Then Mr. Tender's Girl. It sounds like a combination of psychological thriller and maybe a slight element of horror. Then comparing notes. What is music? Simple as that. Simplest question in the world, but so provocative. And a finished copy of What Are We Doing Here by Marilyn Roberts and her latest collection of nonfiction. And there you have it. That is a relatively short mail haul. But I'll be back. Don't you worry. Thank you, BookTube.